There's a question from Jeff, and he's asking, I'm looking for some tips on how to get buy-in and ownership on technology from our long tenured employees who have never used technology, having trouble getting them on board with understanding how these tools will improve our daily flow and management of projects.
Everything's a project. And when you go to decide to put technology into your business, you have to treat it like a project, which means somebody has to own that as a project in your business. Much the same as, doing a landscape project or completing a contract if you're more of a maintenance provider. When we do this, we have to clarify what the outcome is that we're expecting. We have to be super clear about why we're doing this. And then we have to put timelines and project plans together. What tends to be missed most often when contractors go to start putting technology or even systems into their business, they don't treat it like a project. They treat it like a nice to have. Weak leaders create weak project plans and really weak accountability structures. And what the accelerator program's about, ironically, is helping people transform that. If you're having a hard time getting buy-in, this is always hard to hear for leaders, and this is not just for the person who asked the question, but for everybody. If you have a weak accountability, that's a result of the way you're operating. And the very thing that we teach first is to create a clear vision for the business, get a clear mission statement that everybody understands, and that becomes your why. Here's why we're doing this. And then when you've got some core values to rely on, you can refer back to those core values when actually trying to correct accountability issues. And if the team won't help by actually deploying the products, then you have to hold them accountable. And the only way to do that is to create SMART goals where you're saying, I want this piece of software deployed within 60 days. We're going to provide you with the resources and the training team or the advisors to help do that, but you're going to have to put block time in your calendar to make sure it's done. And so I'm going to allocate 4 hours a week for you to deploy this software, or maybe it's 8 hours a week to deploy this software or this technology. And each week, when I meet with you in your one-to-one, I want to hear about the progress to make sure that we're tracking toward this project plan that we've created to deliver this final implementation over 8 weeks. And it's really is like that. It's treating it like a project and then making sure that milestones are met. And so if it's 8 weeks, then put on 8 milestones. And we always have to remember that oftentimes we may have been giving technology deployment projects to people who have never deployed technology before. And if you need a little bit of help with that, you can also create a technology deployment SOP using Lana and work with Lana to create those milestones. But this is definitely a really common problem in trades companies. They're just not really familiar with creating a system or a project plan to deploy technology.
We discussed this in our town hall today. What came to light is I didn't communicate it effectively to some of the frontline team and what it means to them, what it is, and how it works. There was some legitimate fear around AI, and we've been talking about it so much, and some haven't understood what it all means to them. Instead, they adopted some notion that their job is being taken by certain tech. So I just called that out, one, because it's really articulate, and two, it's really relevant for the AI thing. I don't think that we as leaders are actually thinking about this clearly enough. If you're in sort of a more techie bubble and you're listening to different podcasts or reading different books, you're more, let's say you're closer to the cutting edge of it all, you maybe assume that the rest of your team is also. That happens really quickly. It's kind of getting your own echo chamber a little bit. So I think a little bit of slowing it down and remembering maybe that the rest of the team isn't quite at that point in the innovation curve will help you communicate way more effectively and just know where they're at. There's a really good book called Dancing with Disruption, which is all about change management, which is what this is. It's like we're implementing a new system, we're implementing technology, and what it means is that certain processes, certain ways in which that you're going to do things are going to be different. And different isn't bad, it's just different. And it's a mindset shift and a very practical guide on how to get better at change management. And guess what? Every system you implement, from a basic SOP to a quality control checklist at the end of the job to something in your finance department, it's all change management. For some of you that are struggling with it, because I feel very strongly that it's a muscle you're gonna want to develop as an entrepreneur.